Well, I'm not gonna lie to you folks. I'm a little bit nervous about this first inspection. And I'll tell you why. I've drugged my feet a little bit. These two hives that you see here behind me, I installed 3-pound packages in each one of them on April 24th. Today is May 19th and I have yet to make my first hive inspection. And that's simply because I've got so much going on. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go in and inspect each one of these colonies and go ahead and take that first step of removing the queen cage. The Ergo kit, I don't have much concerns with leaving the queen cage in because those frames just had foundation in it and there was plenty of room to put that queen cage between the frames and put the frames tight back together. The wood hive you see back here that has the Apimaye wood upgrade kit, those frames weren't pushed close together, and that's simply because some of the foundation had been drawn out into comb, so I had to remove a frame. And that's the colony I'm a little bit nervous about looking in today. I really expect to find a lot of drawn comb and that extra space, but time will tell. Got my smoker gone, and we're gonna get in here and make some inspection. We'll start with the Ergo kit, the white one. And then after lunch, I'll come back out and we'll go through the wood hive with the Apimaye upgrade. For right now, let's go ahead and start with the Ergo kit and see what it's looking like inside there. So it's a balmy 65 degrees out. We had a lot of rain yesterday and it's still overcast right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and do this inspection because, well, I'll be honest with you, I haven't recorded my video for the week. Like always, I'll smoke my arms. Make them a little less attractive to the bees. Hope they play nice today. Okay, so as we left it, we left our frame spacers up here with the feeder. Go ahead and remove this. Let's see what we've got going on in here. Not used to having feeders that you can't necessarily sit down flat because there's bees on the bottom of them, but that's all right. They do work good. Haven't had any drowning. So what we've got is, we've got a frame. Looks like drawn comb on the inside here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 frames of bees, and here's our queen cage we need to work our way over to remove. And I will say, you know, normally you go to do this and your frames are glued in place. I don't know if it's because they're plastic, but look, they're moving very easily. And that's because the bees have not propolized them in place. Looky here. Look at that. A Pro frame. Apimaye Pro frame being drawn out. And they're going, look, they went right over top of this plastic strip and buried it with comb. You see that? Pretty cool. I was curious if they would do that or not. I'm going to go ahead and remove a frame to allow a little bit more room. I'll set it off to the side here. So here's what we got with our queen cage. That's the setup. So you can see there is capped brood there. And what does that mean, folks? That means the queen successfully was released from the queen cage. We can go ahead and remove it. Now the bees should draw that out. Fix that hole. Now let's see if we see our queen. She's not on that frame. Boy, I tell you folks, I cannot believe how easy these frames are moving around. I'm so used to them being glued in place. Now look at this frame. Completely laid out and capped. You can also see the other indention over here from the queen cage. I got ladybugs snooping a few feet from me, and that makes me nervous when I'm in the bees. There's my queen. You see her? She's right here at the end of my thumb. Now she's going down here. She's a beauty. She's doing a great job too. All these frames laid out. So that means if they're capped, that in the next week or so, week to 10 days, we ought to have brood emerging, which will be an expansion on the colony, more population. Looks like they're doing really well. They haven't expanded much, but it has, you know, like I said, I only installed them on the 24th of April, and today is May 19th. So, to be expected, the population hasn't boosted any, but it's about to. It's about to. So we'll put these frames back together, and we'll close this hive up. Like I said, it is kind of cool today. I don't want to stress the bees any more than need to. So there we go. We got the frames back the way they should be. We can now sandwich them, and we can put our frame spacers back on. Very impressed by the lack of gluing the frames in. And you know what's kind of puzzling about that is I've used many of solid plastic frames with the black foundation, all one piece, and those being plastic don't have the same results as this, where they're so easy to move. And maybe it's just because it's a young colony and they haven't had much chance to propolize. But I mean, if we take a close look, and I'll share a picture here, at these ears on the end of the frames, they have put a little bit of propolis there. It's just not sticking the way it normally would. Now maybe that's the type of plastic they used for their frames. Maybe it's the type of plastic they've used for their box. I don't know, but there's something to it. I've had others tell me, you know, I've used Apimaye equipment for this many years and they will propolize the frames in place. But so far, I'm really impressed. So one of the questions since my install on this package that people were curious about was how many bees got trapped up under the inner cover or these feeders, and that's just because they are the same, the inner cover and top feeders. Well, you can see there is a few dead bees here. There's a couple down here. We've got 5 or 6 on this end and a couple in between here. And their question was, how did you get the bees out from between the inner cover and your top cover when you were feeding? And to be honest with you, as you can see, I didn't do anything. I trapped those bees up there. Well, their concerns with this type of design is that there's no escape for bees to get out once they get trapped up here. So that's something I'm going to be talking to Apimaye about here next week. I've got a phone call scheduled with them, and I will be bringing that up. Maybe they have a suggestion on how to get the bees out. I'm going to suggest, and I'd like to experiment with, one of the little cones that they use on bee escapes. Maybe they could put one up here under the lid somewhere so that any bees that do get stuck can get out, but yet no bees can get in. I don't know. There has to be something to keep bees from getting trapped under this lid. Very happy with the colony so far though. I think what we'll do, since that didn't take very long, is we'll just go ahead and hop on over to the wood hive and see how it's looking. I really figured that would take a little bit longer than it did. Of course, we're gonna have to talk Miss Ladybug into moving. Think we can do that, Ladybug? Can we get you to move, honey? Move. Good girl. They don't want you to get hurt, honey. Bees can be mean, honey. They can be. And I don't want them to get you. They shouldn't take their problems out on you. Take them out on me. I'm the beekeeper. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing right off the bat, and another follower of mine who's been using Apimayes for years told me this would happen. They're propolising these vents closed on the inner cover. I'll overlap a closer video here so you can see it. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing. You see all them vents? They're propolised closed. We've got some propolised closed here in the front. A little bit over here on the side, not too bad. There's some more that's propolised closed right there. It's mainly here in the center for some reason. I don't see any on this side. A little bit right here in the front. Very weird. Tells me they're getting too much air. Ladybug just chased a bunny out of the pine trees. Here we go. For the sake of squishing any bees, I'll turn these upside down. Wow! So you can see here, I got very lucky. They didn't draw no burr comb in there like I figured they would. Go ahead and see if we can pull this cage out. No, it's in there pretty tight. Okay, so we're gonna have to slide some frames over. I'm also going to have to come up with a frame to stick in here, which won't be hard. It's right off to the side here in an empty box. Let's pull a frame out and see what it looks like. Heavy. It's the first impression. It's heavy. It's got weight to it. Wet nectar. Wet nectar. Some of it being capped there towards the top. It's kind of got me scared because the next frame's capped in nectar too. And that's all honey. So that tells me there's not a laying queen in here, folks. She was released. Ladybug. Come on. I gotta move Ladybug back from the beehive. Come here. Lay down. You come over here and lay down. Be a good girl. Yes. Be a good girl. You stay. Daddy don't want you getting hurt. My sweetheart, Ladybug. Okay. Heavy, heavy, heavy frame. No eggs. Lots of nectar and pollen. Real quick look, I do not see a queen there. On this side, lots of wet nectar. Let's look down in here and see if we see any eggs. No eggs. It's not good, folks. That's not good. Nectar, nectar, nectar. Big piece of burr comb. Let's see if we can get that off there. No queen though, folks. Absolutely no queen. So, I've got a mess to fix here. I can either steal a mated queen from a customer's nuke. That's not really right. So I could buy a queen. Buying one queen's kind of expensive in my opinion. Better off if you could buy several. I only need one. What I could do is go over to the split that I made last week and see if they have any queen cells. That's probably what we'll do. think what I'm going to do too is go ahead and cut this chunk off right here. It's keeping the frames from going back together. And we'll set it over here with the piece of comb I just cut out. Now we should be able, another thing we can do to make it so we can get the frames back together is we could stick this in between there. Now the frames can go back tight together. And I've got to fix this. Okay, so for now I'm going to give them this drawn comb off on this side, and for what we'll do right this minute is I'll close this up and I'll go look and see if my one colony has queen cells. If it doesn't, maybe I can give this colony a frame of eggs and get them to straighten themselves out. For now, we'll close it back up. But I'll tell you, that's not really what I wanted to see when I made this inspection today. I was hoping they were doing a lot better than what they are. So since I'll be back in here, I'm not even going to latch this lid closed. Here's the comb we removed. And our 2 empty queen cages. So let's stop recording and let me go see if I have the resources to give this colony to get them going again. Okay, so I'm back. I got some resources from my nuke yard to fix this colony. I got them a frame of capped brood. I'll show you both of these frames. And I got them a frame with some open brood, which has a lot of eggs on one side of the frame. So that'll be the perfect opportunity for them to raise their own queen. Kind of puts them a little bit further behind than I like, but you know, I got to do what's best for the colony right now and not worry about my goals for the colony. So first thing is to get them back on track, and that's what we're going to do right now. We'll remove frames they haven't done anything with. Right there. We got those 2 out. Now we've got room for the frames that I brought over to add. We want to add them a little bit closer to the center of this cluster though, and not out on the edge. So here is one of the frames I brought over, and this is the one that has the open brood on this side. It's a little bit older than they need to raise a queen, but over on this side we've got a lot of freshly laid eggs. Matter of fact, I had to take the queen off of this frame, so here we go. And here's the frame of capped brood. This will add a lot of new bees to the package. You see, since they haven't had a good queen, they don't have any more bees. They're not expanding. The population is not growing. And we want to keep that going. So we'll do that by adding this frame of capped brood. And by adding it right next to the frame with the eggs on it, we should get some attention from the bees, which is good. They need to realize now that they have the resources to raise their own queen. Now, as I talked about last week, you can't count all of your eggs before they hatch. And walkaway splits, well, they're just not 100% foolproof. There's too many variables. Get this closed back up. I don't want to put any more stress on them than what I have today. They've got what they need now. They need to realize that and take advantage of it. Let's look at the bottom of these feeders though real quick. you can see how they're starting to put propolis on there. So this would have been the one that went on this side. And this would have been the one that went over here. And I know that because they only had the propolis in the center. So one other thing I'd like to speak about real quick before I close off the video is the trays underneath these hives. Now, I'm not collecting pollen, as I mentioned, and that's what would be collected on this center tray. I probably should have removed that because now I'm going to have to clean it before I collect pollen. But that's no big deal. You can still see the debris that this has caught. Look, we've got a few ants because some honey dripped down in there earlier when I was taking out that chunk of comb. We've got some crystals, some wax crystals. A little bit of pollen has fallen through there, and I'm sure if we look close enough, somewhere in here, there has to be mites. Now, I do want to mention that my packages were treated 2 weeks before I got them for varroa mites, and I'm not sure of the method that they used. I guess that probably was mentioned, but I don't recall it right offhand. So I think I'll leave this out and take it back to the house. Same with on the other colony. But if you remember, this colony had drawn comb when I installed it. This one over here just had foundation. So you can see how we've got a little bit of what looks like dirty debris, I guess we could call it. Where now if we go over here to this colony, we don't have that dirtiness or that dirty debris. We've got some crystals from making the wax. All of these right here. We've got a few pieces of pollen that have fallen down through there. Now what I need to do is you can sprinkle a little bit of diatomaceous earth down here on the bottom on these trays, and anything that falls through via small hive beetle larvae, varroa mites even, it's going to kill them. That's what it's going to do. So trays, very handy to have. I really like the Apimaye setups. You can tell that they're very well designed and very durable. So now if you compare the trays, that's the difference in the size. This is the one that's in the Apimaye Wood Hive upgrade kit, and this is the one in the Ergo kit. Now I do want to mention real quick, I am a Apimaye affiliate. And if you're interested in checking out more on their equipment, or maybe you want to make a purchase, maybe you want to try out the Apimaye Wood Hive upgrade kit, which comes with the bottom board, the feeders, the insulated top cover, and depending on which kit you get, you can even get the latches included. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link down below. That's the difference in the size of the trays though. So my final thoughts here to close off the video. The Apimaye Wood Hive upgrade kit. This hive over here, it's the Hoover hive and the Apimaye together. That colony's got me a little bit discouraged, and I'm going to tell you why. A couple weeks ago I shared some products that Saracell sent me over. And if you remember, if you've seen that video, I had some double-decker round comb frames. Basically they're Ross rounds, but they're in a double stacked position where they're deep frames, and you can put them in a regular deep box. And I was planning to make the second box up on that wooden hive for honey production and get round comb frames and try those frames out, see how it worked out. Matter of fact, I reached out to Hoover Hives and they donated the top box so I could keep the boxes looking the same. I really like how Hoover Hives boxes look with the Apimaye Wood Hive upgrade kit. I like the look together, it just looks nice. So that's got me a little discouraged that for whatever reason there was no queen, there is no eggs, there's nothing going on in there. So hopefully we can get that straightened out. But you know, that's 2.5 weeks away before I'm going to see any eggs, possibly 3. And I'm also pushing the limits on getting a laying worker in there, so I'm going to have to keep a real close eye on that colony. Now as for the Ergo kit, it's done super. You know, I kind of expected to see a little bit more in there, but at the same time, I see what happened. The queen concentrated on them 4 or 5 frames, and she has just laid them all out beautifully. So in the next few days, week, I imagine to see a lot of that start to emerge, and the colony is just going to go kaboom, and it's going to explode like crazy. So what should have really happened in the beginning is the package I put in the Ergo kit, I should have put in this hive, and we would have had our Ross rounds on top, and everything would have been beautiful. But who could have seen that coming? When you're working with nature, a lot of this is out of your hands. You just gotta kind of guide it the way you want to go, and when it doesn't go that way, you got to go back over and give some more guidance and push it back to where you want. And that's what we're in the middle of right now. So anyway, hopefully we can get things back on track, and we can get that second box on the wood hive. As far as the other one, I am going to try and run it as a single chamber brood box, just the way it's set up. So once the population in that bottom box starts to cover about 8 frames of the 10, I'll probably go ahead and add a second box with an excluder. Maybe I should be doing that now, actually, because if things work out right in the next few days and it doesn't rain, we should have a black locust flow, and that's one of our best nectar flows right here in central Ohio. So fingers crossed on that. So maybe seeing all that capped brood in there that's about to emerge, I should be thinking about it, going ahead and adding that extra box now with the excluder. So that's something I'll have to think about over the next day or so. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if so, slam that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell so you can see more of my content, and we'll see you next week. And remember, clicking any of these buttons will give you warm, fuzzy feelings the rest of the day. Have a great week, folks, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for watching JC's Bees.